It's 7:13 a.m. Your alarm has already gone off, maybe more than once. You're not fully awake yet, but your hand already knows where to go. You reach for your phone without thinking, not because you decided to, but because it's what you've trained yourself to do. Notifications, messages, headlines, noise. And just like that, before your feet even touch the ground, your attention is gone. You haven't taken a breath. You haven't made a decision. You haven't chosen anything. But your day has already started without you. And here's the part most people never stop to question. This isn't just a habit. It's a quiet surrender of control that happens every single morning. Because if you don't own your morning, you don't own your life. Not your focus. Not your energy. Not your direction. The first hour of your day isn't just another block of time. It's leverage. Psychologists, including insights referenced by American Psychological Association, have found that your first actions after waking can shape your ability to concentrate, regulate emotions, and make decisions for hours afterward. Which means this: when your morning begins with distraction, your mind stays scattered. When your morning begins with reaction, your entire day follows that pattern. And the most dangerous part, it doesn't feel like you're losing control. It feels normal. It feels like everyone else is living the same way. So you don't question it, you just repeat it. Day after day, week after week, month after month. Until one day, you look at your life and feel something you can't quite explain. You feel behind. Even though you've been trying, even though you've been working, even though you've been pushing yourself forward. And that's where most people get it wrong. They think they need more motivation, more discipline, more time. But the truth is simpler and harder to accept. You don't need a completely different life. You need a different beginning. Because the way you start your day quietly shapes the way you live your life. If you keep starting your mornings like this, nothing changes. A year from now, your mornings will look the same, and so will your results. Not because you're incapable, but because you never took control of the moment that decides everything. The beginning. But here's the shift most people never experience. The moment you take ownership of your morning, something changes. You stop reacting and start deciding. You stop rushing and start focusing. You stop drifting and start moving with intention. And that shift doesn't stay in the morning. It follows you. Into your work, your relationships, your confidence, your future. This isn't about waking up earlier. This isn't about chasing perfection. This is about ownership. About becoming the kind of person who decides how their day begins, instead of letting the world decide for them. Because control isn't something you discover later in life. It's something you build quietly in the moments no one sees. So take a second right now and think about your morning, not the version you wish you had. The real one, the one you actually live. Is it building you or slowly taking control away from you? And if you know someone who feels stuck, overwhelmed, or like they're drifting without understanding why, share this video with them. It might be the moment that helps them take their life back. Chapter 1. You wake up, but you don't take control. It was 7:32 a.m. when the alarm stopped. Not because David got up, because he turned it off. His room was quiet again, but his mind wasn't. Not yet, not fully awake, but already moving in a direction he didn't choose. His hand reached across the nightstand before his eyes even opened. Phone. A small movement, automatic, practiced. The screen lit up his face in the dim light. Notifications, messages, emails, a breaking news alert, a reminder he didn't remember setting. He tapped one, then another. Then he started scrolling, not fast, not slow, just enough to stay there. 7 minutes passed, then 12. By the time he finally sat up, something inside him already felt off. Not panic, not stress, just a quiet, familiar weight. Like he was already behind and didn't know why. And here's what made it dangerous. Nothing had actually gone wrong. No crisis, no bad news, no emergency. Just a normal morning. That's how it works. You don't lose control in obvious ways. You lose it quietly, in moments that feel harmless. David got out of bed faster now, trying to make up for time he couldn't measure. He checked his email again while brushing his teeth, replied to one message while getting dressed, opened another notification while walking to the kitchen. By the time he poured his coffee, his attention wasn't his anymore. It belonged to everything that had reached him first, and without realizing it, his day had already taken shape. Reactive, fragmented, unfocused. He told himself he'd fix it later, focus more, work harder, catch up. But later never really came. By 11:40 a.m., he was switching between tabs, half-finishing tasks, rereading the same paragraph twice without understanding it. By 2:15 p.m., he felt tired in a way that didn't make sense. Not physical exhaustion, mental noise. And by the end of the day, he had done a lot, but nothing that actually mattered. That pattern didn't happen once. It repeated, quietly, consistently, until it became his normal. And that's the part most people never question, because when something feels normal, you stop examining it. You stop asking whether it's helping you or slowly pulling you off course. David didn't think his problem was the morning. He thought it was his workload, his schedule, his lack of discipline. So he tried to fix those. He worked longer hours, pushed himself harder, stayed up later trying to catch up on what he didn't finish. But nothing really changed, because he was trying to fix the outcome without ever touching the starting point. Until one morning, something small broke the pattern. His phone didn't turn on. No battery, no screen, no notifications, just silence. At first, it annoyed him. He tapped the button once. Nothing. Again. Still nothing. A quiet frustration started to rise, like something important was missing. And that's when it hit him. He wasn't missing information. He was missing something to react to. Without his phone, there was nothing pulling his attention in 10 different directions. No urgency, no noise, no external pressure telling him where to look next. Just space. And in that space, something unfamiliar appeared. Clarity. Not perfect clarity. Not some deep realization. Just the absence of chaos. He sat there longer than he expected. No scrolling, no input, just sitting with his own thoughts. At first, it felt uncomfortable, like something was off, like he should be doing something, checking something, catching up on something. But there was nothing to check. So for the first time in a long time, he had to choose, not react. Choose. He grabbed a notebook from the table. Not part of a system, not part of a routine, just something to put his thoughts somewhere. And he wrote down 3 things, not everything he had to do, just what actually mattered. One work task he had been avoiding, one conversation he needed to have, one thing he wanted to finish before the day ended. That was it. No complexity, no optimization, just direction. When his phone finally came back to life an hour later, everything was still there. The emails, the messages, the noise. Nothing had changed, except him. He didn't reach for it immediately. Didn't feel that same pull, because something had already been decided. His day had already started, on his terms. And the difference showed up faster than he expected. He moved through his work with less friction, finished tasks without constantly switching, stayed present in conversations instead of drifting back to his screen. It wasn't perfect, but it was controlled. And that's when the real shift happened. It wasn't about the phone. It wasn't about discipline. It wasn't even about time. It was about ownership. Because the way you start your day doesn't just affect your schedule. It defines your position. Are you leading your day? Or are you already trying to catch up to it? Most people never notice the moment they give control away, because it doesn't feel like losing. It feels like checking one thing, responding quickly, staying on top of things. But every small reaction is a decision, and those decisions stack until your attention no longer belongs to you, until your energy is spent before you even decide where it should go, until your day is shaped by whatever demands you first, instead of what matters most. And over time, that becomes your life. Not because you chose it, because you never interrupted it. That's the twist most people miss. You don't lose control in big moments, you lose it in the first few minutes, before your mind has a chance to decide who you're going to be that day. And if you don't take that moment back, everything that follows is already influenced, already directed, already decided. So the question isn't whether you wake up. The question is what happens next. Because the moment your day begins, something is taking control. And if it's not you, it's everything else. Chapter 2. You don't lack discipline. You haven't decided yet. It was 6:48 a.m. when Daniel opened his eyes. He didn't move right away. For a few seconds, he just stared at the ceiling, caught in that quiet space between sleep and reality. And then it started. Not physically, mentally. A small thought, almost harmless. Just check your phone for a second. He didn't argue with it, didn't question it. His hand moved almost automatically, reaching toward the nightstand. Same motion, same timing, same habit, except this time. He paused. Not because he was motivated, not because he suddenly became disciplined, because something felt off. He stayed there, hand hovering just above the phone, like he had interrupted himself mid-action. And in that moment, something uncomfortable surfaced. A realization he couldn't ignore anymore. You've been here before. Same bed, same thought, same decision. Every morning felt new, but the pattern wasn't. He picked up the phone anyway, unlocked it, scrolled. 5 minutes, then 10. Nothing dramatic happened. No disaster. No obvious mistake. Just the quiet return of something familiar. By the time he got out of bed, that same feeling was back. Slightly behind. Slightly rushed. Slightly out of control. And it hit him harder this time. Not because the morning was worse, but because he finally saw it. Clearly. He wasn't failing because he didn't know what to do. He was failing because he kept choosing not to do it, without realizing he was choosing it all. That was the shift. For years, Daniel believed he had a discipline problem. He told himself that constantly. I just need to be more consistent. I need more willpower. I need to try harder. So he tried. New routines, new systems, new plans. Wake up earlier, cold showers, journaling, meditation. For a few days, sometimes a week, he followed everything perfectly. Then something small would break the rhythm. A late night, a stressful day, a lack of energy. And just like that, everything collapsed. Not dramatically, quietly. He would miss one morning, then another. Then he'd fall back into what felt familiar. And every time he told himself the same story. You just need more discipline. But that wasn't true. And that morning, standing in his kitchen, coffee untouched, he finally saw why. It wasn't discipline, it was indecision. Because every morning, he was starting from zero. Every morning, he was asking himself the same question again. What should I do? And every morning, his brain chose the easiest answer. Not the best one, the familiar one. That's how habits work. Not through force, through repetition. And Daniel had been repeating the wrong decision for years. Not because he wanted to, because he never made a real decision to replace it. That's the part most people miss. They think change comes from trying harder, from pushing themselves more, from finding the perfect routine. But none of that works if you're still negotiating every morning, because negotiation sounds reasonable. It feels logical. Just 5 minutes, just today. You deserve a break. And those thoughts always win when there's no clear decision to override them. Daniel didn't need more discipline. He needed to stop negotiating. That realization didn't motivate him. It simplified everything. Later that day, he wrote something down. Not a full plan, not a routine, one sentence. When I wake up, I don't touch my phone. That was it. No backup options. No, unless I need to. No flexibility. Just a decision made before the moment arrived. The next morning, nothing felt easier. He was still tired, still tempted, still aware of how easy it would be to fall back into what he had always done. That thought came again. Just check it for a second. But this time, something was different. He didn't argue with the thought. He didn't try to fight it. He just didn't follow it. Because the decision had already been made, and that removed the negotiation. That quiet back and forth in your mind that feels like thinking, but is really just delaying. For the first time, he experienced what real discipline actually felt like. Not force, not struggle. Clarity, the absence of debate. He got out of bed. Slowly, but intentionally. Walked to the kitchen, sat down, and for a few minutes nothing pulled his attention away. No noise, no urgency, no reaction, just space. And in that space, something new appeared. Direction. Not a perfect plan, not a long list, just a sense of what mattered. He wrote down 3 things. Simple, clear, real, and then he started. That day wasn't perfect, but it felt different. Not because he did more, because he decided earlier, and that difference carried into his work, his focus, his conversations. Over time, it compounded. Not into perfection, into consistency. And that's where the deeper shift happened. He stopped seeing himself as someone trying to be disciplined and started acting like someone who had already decided. That's the difference most people never cross. Trying requires effort every time. Deciding removes the need to try, because once something is decided, it doesn't depend on how you feel. It doesn't depend on your mood. It doesn't depend on whether today is harder than yesterday. It just is. That's why some people look consistent from the outside. It's not because they're stronger, it's because they're clearer. They made a decision once, and they keep honoring it. Most people never reach that point. Not because they can't, but because they keep waiting. Waiting to feel ready, waiting for motivation, waiting for the right moment. But the right moment doesn't arrive. It's created. And it starts with something simple, a decision that removes the option to go back. So the question isn't whether you know what to do. You probably do. The question is whether you've decided or you're still negotiating. Because tomorrow morning, that moment will come again. Quiet, almost invisible, easy to ignore. And in that moment, one thing will determine everything that follows. Not your plan, not your intention, your decision. And here's what most people don't realize. Even when they see this clearly, they still don't decide. And that's exactly where control slips away again.
Chapter 3. What you let in decides what comes out. There's a moment after you wake up. That feels harmless. It doesn't look like a decision. It doesn't feel like a turning point.
But it quietly shapes the way your mind will operate for the rest of the day. Most people never notice it, because it happens so fast. It's not when you grab your phone. It's what you see next, the first thing your mind consumes. Not eats, consumes. Because your attention feeds on something the moment you're awake. And whatever it takes in first stays longer than you think. I didn't understand this until I watched it happen to someone close to me. Her name was Lynn. We used to work in the same office, same schedule, same kind of pressure. She was sharp, focused, and good at what she did. The kind of person who didn't complain much, but you could tell when something wasn't right. And for a while, something wasn't. Not in a dramatic way, just small things. She was more distracted, more reactive, easily irritated over things that normally wouldn't bother her. At first, it didn't seem connected to anything. Work hadn't changed. Her routine looked the same. She was still waking up early, still showing up on time, still doing what needed to be done. But something about her energy felt different, less stable, more scattered. One morning, we were sitting in the office before the day really started. Coffee on the desk, screens still quiet, that short window where everything feels calm before the noise begins. She opened her laptop and didn't say anything for a while. Then she exhaled, not loudly, but enough for it to be noticeable. "I don't know why I feel like this lately," she said. "Like what?" I asked. She paused for a second. "Like I'm already tired before the day even starts." That sentence stuck with me, because it didn't make sense on the surface. She wasn't overworked, she wasn't sleep-deprived, but she felt drained before doing anything. And over time, I started noticing a pattern. Every morning, right after waking up, she would check the news. Not casually, deeply, scrolling through updates, headlines, stories, comments, politics, conflict, crisis, opinions. It wasn't that she was looking for negativity. It just happened to be what was there. And without realizing it, she was feeding her mind a certain kind of input before it had a chance to stabilize itself. One day, I asked her about it. "Why do you check the news first thing every morning?" She shrugged. "I just want to know what's going on." It sounded reasonable. It always does. Because most habits that hurt us don't feel wrong. They feel justified. But here's what most people don't realize. Your brain doesn't separate information the way you think it does. It doesn't label something as important, but not emotional. It reacts immediately. And whatever you expose it to first thing in the morning sets a tone, not just mentally, chemically, emotionally, subtly. You don't feel it all at once, but it stays. Lynn didn't think her mornings were the problem. She thought her stress was coming from work, deadlines, emails, pressure. But what she didn't see was that her mind was already overloaded before any of that even began. She was starting her day in reaction mode before she even had a chance to choose how she wanted to feel. That's the part most people miss. It's not just about controlling what you do in the morning. It's about controlling what you allow in. Because once something enters your mind, it doesn't leave easily. It lingers in your thoughts, in your mood, in your reactions. And it quietly shapes the way you interpret everything that comes after. A neutral email feels more stressful. A small problem feels bigger. A simple delay feels frustrating. Not because the situation changed, but because your internal state was already influenced. That's what was happening to her. Not all at once, but consistently enough to matter. And once she saw it, she couldn't ignore it anymore. She didn't make a big announcement, didn't create a complicated system. She just made one change. For the first hour after waking up, she stopped consuming anything external. No news, no social media, no messages, nothing that wasn't her own thoughts. At first it felt strange, almost empty, like she was missing something important. But after a few days, something shifted, not dramatically, but noticeably. She was calmer, more present, less reactive, and the biggest difference? She didn't feel drained before the day even started. That feeling she described disappeared. Not because her life got easier, because her mind wasn't being pulled in every direction from the start. And that's when the deeper realization hit. It wasn't the world that was overwhelming her. It was the timing of when she let the world in. That's the twist most people don't see. You don't need to disconnect from everything. You just need to stop letting everything in too early. Because your mind, in the first moments of the day, is more open than you think, more sensitive, more impressionable. And whatever you place there first becomes the lens through which you see everything else. So if you start your day with noise, your mind stays noisy. If you start your day with pressure, your mind stays tense. If you start your day with other people's priorities, your life slowly becomes shaped by them. That's how control slips, not through big decisions, through small exposures. Repeated daily. So the question isn't just whether you're in control of your actions, it's whether you're in control of your inputs. Because what you let in will come out in your thoughts, in your focus, in your decisions. And if you don't protect that first hour, you don't just lose time, you lose clarity. And once clarity is gone, everything else gets harder than it needs to be. Chapter 4. Build before the world touches you. There's a quiet difference between two kinds of mornings. You don't see it immediately. From the outside, they look the same. Two people wake up, grab coffee, sit down, and open their laptops. Same environment, same tools, same time of day. But inside, something completely different is happening. One person is starting by creating. The other is starting by consuming. And that single difference, repeated every day, slowly builds two completely different lives. I didn't fully understand how powerful that shift was until I watched it play out with someone I knew well. His name was Min. We met through work, but what stood out about him wasn't his job. It was how calm he seemed, even when things got busy, not in a detached way, just steady, focused without rushing, present without being overwhelmed. At first, I thought it was personality. Some people are just wired that way. But over time, I realized it wasn't who he was. It was how he started his day. One morning, I got a message from him earlier than usual. "Are you up?" it said. I wasn't, not really. But I replied anyway. He asked if I wanted to meet before work. No agenda, just coffee. When I got there, he was already sitting at a corner table, notebook open, laptop closed. Not checking emails, not scrolling, just writing. "What are you working on?" I asked as I sat down. He looked up, slightly surprised, like he had forgotten where he was for a second. "Just thinking," he said. That answer didn't make sense to me. "Thinking about what?" He smiled a little. Before I let anything in, I tried to put something out. I didn't respond right away. It sounded simple, but also unnecessary. Why not just start the day like everyone else? Check messages. Catch up. See what needs attention. That's what I did. That's what most people do, and he knew that. "I used to start my mornings checking everything," he said, almost like he was reading my thoughts. "Emails, messages, updates. I thought I was being productive." "So what changed?" I asked. He leaned back slightly, thinking. I realized I was spending the most focused part of my day reacting to things I didn't choose. That sentence stayed with me, because it pointed to something subtle, but important. He wasn't just talking about productivity. He was talking about direction. Most people think the problem is that they don't have enough time. But time isn't the issue. It's how that time gets used before you even notice it. Min explained it in a way that made it clearer. When you wake up, your mind is fresh, clear, not perfect, but not overloaded yet. That's your best window, and most people give it away. "Give it away to what?" I asked. "To whatever shows up first. Messages, notifications, news, other people's priorities. Things that feel urgent, but aren't necessarily important. And once you start there," he continued, "it's hard to shift back. Because now your mind is reacting, not leading. That was the difference. Not what he did, but when he did it. He didn't avoid responsibilities. He didn't ignore messages all day. He just delayed them. Long enough to build something first, and that changed everything. He started small, 15 minutes of writing in the morning. Not for anyone else. Not for work. Just to think clearly. To organize his thoughts before the world interrupted them. At first, it felt slow. Almost like he was falling behind, because while he was sitting there writing, everyone else was already active. Responding, posting, moving. But over time, something shifted. He wasn't actually falling behind. He was getting ahead in a different way, because while others were reacting to the day, he was shaping it, and that difference didn't show up immediately. It built, quietly. He made better decisions, stayed focused longer, got more done, without feeling rushed. Not because he worked harder, because he worked from a clearer starting point. And the most interesting part? He didn't increase his time, he protected it. That's the twist most people miss. You don't need more time in the morning. You need to stop giving your best time to things that don't move your life forward. Because when you start your day consuming, you enter someone else's world, their ideas, their priorities, their problems. And even if you try to focus afterward, your mind has already been influenced. But when you start by creating something, even something small, you anchor yourself. You remind your mind, this is where my attention goes. This is what matters. And that changes how you move through everything else. Min didn't build something massive every morning. Some days, it was just a page of notes, a few lines of ideas, a plan for the day, but it was his. And that made the difference. Because the act of creating, even in a small way, puts you in control. It forces you to think, to choose, to direct your attention instead of letting it drift. And over time, that becomes your default. You stop waiting for direction, you start generating it. That's what most people never experience, because they never give themselves that space. They wake up and immediately fill their mind with input. So there's no room left to produce anything original. No room to think clearly, no room to decide what actually matters. And then they wonder why their days feel scattered, why they feel busy, but not moving forward. It's not because they lack ability. It's because they never claim the moment where direction is built, the beginning. So the question isn't whether you're doing enough. It's whether you're building anything before the world touches your mind. Because once the world gets in first, you spend the rest of the day responding. But if you take even a few minutes to create something before that happens, you shift your position. You stop being pulled and start leading. And that difference, repeated every morning, doesn't just change your day, it changes the direction of your life. Chapter 5. You don't need energy. You need to move first. There's a sentence people say so often, they stop hearing what it actually means. I'm just too tired. It sounds honest, reasonable, even justified. Because sometimes you really are tired. You didn't sleep enough. You worked late. Your mind feels heavy before the day even starts. So you wait. You tell yourself you'll start when you feel better, when you have more energy, more clarity, more motivation. And on the surface, that makes sense. Why force yourself when you don't feel ready? But here's what most people never question. What if the energy you're waiting for never comes first? I didn't fully understand that until I saw it play out with someone I knew closely. My cousin, Tuan, used to say that sentence all the time. I'll do it later. I'm just tired right now. It didn't matter what it was. Going to the gym, starting work, fixing something he had been putting off. There was always a reason to wait, and that reason always sounded valid. Because he wasn't lazy, he just didn't feel ready. Most days, his mornings looked the same. He would wake up, sit on the edge of his bed for a few minutes, then slowly move into the day. No urgency, no direction, just easing into things. Then the phone, then the delay, then the quiet pressure building in the background. By the time he actually started doing anything, his energy was already low. Not because he had done too much, because he hadn't done anything that moved him forward, and that's the part people don't realize. Doing nothing doesn't preserve energy. It drains it. But when you're inside that pattern, it feels like the opposite. It feels like rest, like you're giving yourself time. So you keep waiting, waiting for the moment you feel ready, waiting for energy to show up, and it rarely does. One morning, something small interrupted that pattern. Not a big decision, not a sudden burst of motivation, just a simple suggestion. We were sitting together, both quiet, both still waking up. And I asked him something different. Don't think about the whole day. What's one thing you can do right now, even if you don't feel like it? He didn't answer immediately. He looked at me like it was a strange question, because it was. Most people don't think that way. They think in terms of full routines, full effort, full commitment, all or nothing. So if they don't feel ready for everything, they do nothing. After a few seconds, he said, I could go for a walk. It wasn't impressive. It wasn't hard. It didn't require motivation. And that's why it worked. Then go, I said. He hesitated. Not because it was difficult, because it felt pointless. What's the point of a short walk? He asked. That's not going to change anything. And that's where the real misunderstanding was. He thought the action needed to be big to matter. He thought it needed to match the result he wanted. But that's not how momentum works. You don't move because you have energy. You gain energy because you move. That's the reversal most people never make. After a moment, he stood up, not with confidence, not with excitement, just enough willingness to try. He went outside. No headphones, no plan, just walking. 10 minutes, maybe 15. Nothing dramatic happened out there. No breakthrough, no sudden clarity. But something shifted. When he came back, his posture was different, not stronger, just more awake, more present, like his mind had caught up with his body. He sat down again, looked at the same tasks he had been avoiding, and this time, he started. Not everything, just one thing, and that was enough. That day didn't turn into some perfect, productive streak. But it broke something, the idea that he needed to feel ready before he acted. Over the next few days, he kept it simple. He didn't build a complex routine, didn't force himself into anything extreme. He just made one adjustment. Move first, before checking his phone, before thinking too much, before waiting for energy. Just move. Some days it was a walk. Some days it was a quick stretch. Some days it was just getting out of bed and standing still for a moment instead of collapsing back into the same pattern. And slowly, something changed. He stopped saying, "I'm too tired," as often. Not because he wasn't tired, but because that feeling no longer controlled his first move. And that's the shift most people never experience. They think energy leads action, but in reality, action creates energy. Not always instantly, not always dramatically, but consistently enough to change your direction. Because when you move, even in a small way, you interrupt the loop of waiting, the loop of delaying, the loop of telling yourself you'll start later. And once that loop is broken, even slightly, you gain something more valuable than energy. Momentum. And momentum doesn't ask how you feel. It carries you forward anyway. That's why people who seem disciplined aren't always more motivated. They just don't wait as long. They act before their mind has a chance to talk them out of it. They understand something simple. You don't need to win the whole day. You just need to start it differently. So the next time you wake up and feel that familiar resistance, that quiet voice saying, "Not yet," don't argue with it. Don't try to eliminate it. Just move. even if it feels small, even if it feels pointless. Because the goal isn't to do everything, it's to begin. And once you begin, everything else becomes easier than staying stuck. Chapter 6. Discipline is quiet, but it decides everything. There's a version of discipline most people imagine. It's loud, extreme, almost aggressive. Waking up at 5 a.m. every day. Cold showers, perfect routines. No excuses, no breaks. It looks impressive. It feels powerful. And for a while, it works. Until it doesn't. Because that version of discipline depends on intensity. And intensity doesn't last. What lasts is something much quieter. Something most people overlook because it doesn't look dramatic enough to matter. Consistency without emotion. I saw this clearly in someone I used to train with. His name was Hung. We met at a small gym, nothing fancy, just a place people went to get their work done and leave. No cameras, no mirrors everywhere, no pressure to perform. Hung never stood out. Not the strongest, not the fastest, not the most motivated-looking person in the room. If anything, he looked average, but he was always there. Same time, same pace, same focus. No hype, no noise, just showing up. At first, I didn't pay much attention to it. Consistency is easy to ignore when it's quiet, but over time, something became impossible to overlook. He didn't change quickly. He changed steadily. While others had bursts of progress and then disappeared for days, sometimes weeks, he stayed the same. Not in results, in behavior. And eventually, that difference started to show. Not just physically, in how he carried himself. Calm, certain, unrushed. One morning, I asked him about it. How do you stay consistent like this? He shrugged slightly, like the question didn't make much sense. I don't think about it, he said. That answer didn't help. What do you mean you don't think about it? He paused for a moment, then explained in a way that stayed with me. If I start thinking about whether I feel like it, I've already lost. That was the first real insight. He wasn't relying on motivation. He was removing the need for it. Most people treat discipline like a daily decision, something they have to choose again and again. Do I feel like it today? Do I have enough energy? Is this the right time? And every time they ask those questions, they open the door to hesitation, to negotiation, to delay. Hung closed that door, not with force, with a decision that didn't need to be revisited. He didn't wake up and decide whether he would train. That decision had already been made. So the morning wasn't a debate, it was a continuation. That's what real discipline looks like. Not intense, not emotional, just already decided. Most people don't operate that way. They wake up and start evaluating. How do I feel? What kind of day is this going to be? Do I have enough energy to do what I planned? And those questions feel reasonable, but they create instability. Because your feelings change, your energy changes, your circumstances change. And if your actions depend on those things, your consistency disappears the moment they shift. That's why people start strong and then fall off. Not because they don't care. Because they never remove the variable, their emotions. Hung didn't try to control how he felt. He controlled what he did anyway. And over time, that changed something deeper. He didn't become someone who needed motivation. He became someone who acted without needing it. That's a different level of control. And it didn't just apply to the gym. I started noticing it in other parts of his life. He showed up to work the same way, focused, reliable, unaffected by small disruptions. He followed through on things without making them a big deal. No overthinking, no procrastination loops, just action. Consistent, quiet action. And that's when it became clear. Discipline isn't about pushing harder. It's about removing the need to decide. Because every time you have to decide, you create friction. And friction is where most people stop. They don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they hesitate, and hesitation always feels justified in the moment. You tell yourself you'll do it later, when you feel better, when things are clearer, when the timing is right. But later becomes another negotiation, another delay, another missed repetition. And over time, those small gaps add up, not into failure, into inconsistency. And inconsistency quietly limits everything. That's the twist most people miss. It's not the big decisions that shape your life. It's the small actions you repeat without thinking, or the ones you avoid because you keep thinking. Hung didn't make his actions feel important. He made them automatic. That's why they lasted. And that's what most people need to understand. You don't rise because you feel strong. You rise because you remove the option to stay where you are. Because once something is decided, it doesn't depend on your mood. It doesn't depend on your energy. It doesn't depend on how hard the day feels. It just happens. Quietly, consistently, and over time, that becomes your identity. Not someone who tries, not someone who starts and stops. Someone who follows through. Every day, even when it doesn't feel like much. Even when no one notices. Even when nothing dramatic is happening. Because that's where real change is built. In the repetition, no one sees. So the question isn't whether you're capable of discipline. You are. The question is whether you're still deciding every day, or you've already decided once. Because that difference doesn't just affect your morning. It shapes everything that comes after. Chapter 7. Win early. Or spend the day catching up. There's a quiet moment most people overlook. It doesn't feel important when it happens. It doesn't look like a turning point. But it sets the tone for everything that follows. It's the moment you choose your first real action of the day. Not checking your phone, not reacting to something. The first thing you actually do. That moment decides something deeper than most people realize. Whether you lead your day or spend the rest of it trying to catch up. I didn't fully understand how powerful that was until I saw it play out in someone I used to work with. Her name was Mai. She wasn't disorganized. She wasn't lazy. If anything, she worked harder than most people around her. Always busy, always doing something, always trying to stay on top of things. And yet, she always felt behind. Not dramatically, just enough to notice. Deadlines were met, but often at the last minute. Tasks were completed, but with a sense of pressure attached. Her days didn't feel out of control, but they never felt ahead. One morning, I saw it happen in real time. We had a project due that afternoon. Nothing too complex, but it required focus. By 9 a.m., I had already started. Not because I felt particularly motivated, just because I had chosen one task and committed to it early. Meanwhile, Mai was doing what most people do, checking messages, responding to emails, updating small things, all useful, all necessary, but not the thing that actually moved the project forward. At 10:30, she finally opened the main task. At 11:15, she got interrupted. At 12, she hadn't made real progress yet, and that's when I noticed the shift, not in her actions, in her energy. She wasn't calm anymore. She wasn't steady. She was reacting, trying to make up for lost time, trying to compress what should have been a focused effort into a rushed one. By the afternoon, she finished. But it didn't feel like a win. It felt like survival. And that pattern repeated. Not because she didn't know what mattered, because she didn't start with it. That's the part most people miss. You don't fall behind because you're incapable. You fall behind because you delay the one thing that creates momentum. And once that delay happens, everything else becomes harder. Because now you're not just doing the work, you're carrying the pressure of time with it. That pressure changes everything. It makes simple tasks feel heavier. It shortens your patience. It pulls your attention in multiple directions at once. And even if you finish, it never feels controlled. That's what happens when you don't win early. You spend the rest of the day trying to recover. Mai didn't see it that way at first. She thought her problem was time management, or distractions, or the volume of work. But one day, after another rushed afternoon, she said something that revealed the real issue. "I feel like I'm always starting too late." That sentence mattered, because it pointed to something deeper than productivity. Timing, not how much she was doing, but when she was doing it. So we tried something simple, not a full system, not a complicated routine, just one change. Every morning, before anything else, she would start one meaningful task. Not the easiest, not the fastest, the one that actually mattered, even if it was just for 20 minutes. The first day felt strange, unnatural, because her instinct was to clear things first, check messages, handle small tasks, feel productive before starting something bigger. But that instinct was the trap, because it delayed the only thing that created real progress. So she started anyway, uncomfortable, uncertain, but committed. 20 minutes turned into 40. 40 turned into real movement. And something shifted. Not in the amount of work, in the feeling of the day. She wasn't rushing anymore. She wasn't reacting. She was ahead. Not dramatically, but enough to feel it. And that changed everything. Her focus improved. Her decisions became clearer. Her energy stayed more stable. Not because her day was easier, because she wasn't chasing it anymore. She was leading it. And that's the difference most people never experience. They think productivity is about doing more, fitting more in, optimizing every minute. But real progress comes from something simpler, starting the right thing early. Because when you win early, even in a small way, you create momentum. And momentum changes how everything else feels. Tasks don't feel as heavy. Distractions don't feel as urgent. Time doesn't feel as tight. Because you've already moved forward. And once you've moved forward, your mind shifts. You're no longer trying to catch up. You're building on what you've already started. That's a completely different position. Most people never reach it because they fill their mornings with things that feel productive, but don't actually move them forward. Emails, messages, updates, all necessary, but none of them create momentum. They maintain, they react, they respond, but they don't lead. That's the twist. Being busy isn't the same as moving forward. And when you confuse the two, your day fills up without actually progressing. So the question isn't how much you're doing, it's what you're doing first. Because the first real action you take in the morning sets the direction for everything else. It determines whether you spend the day building or catching up. And once you feel the difference, even once, you realize something important. You don't need a perfect day. You need a strong start. Because a strong start doesn't just make your day easier. It changes your position from reactive to in control, from behind to ahead. And that shift, repeated over time, doesn't just improve your mornings. It changes the trajectory of your life. Chapter 8. Ownership is daily, or it disappears. There's a version of change people like to believe in. It's clean, clear, almost cinematic. You decide something once, and everything shifts. New habits, new mindset, new life. It feels powerful to imagine it that way. Like there's a moment where you become someone different. But real change doesn't happen like that. It doesn't arrive all at once. It doesn't stay just because you want it to. It's quieter than that and more fragile. Because the truth is, ownership doesn't last unless you rebuild it every day. I didn't understand how quickly it could disappear until I saw it happen to someone I respected. His name was Khan. If you met him at the right time, you would have thought he had everything figured out. Structured mornings, clear goals, consistent habits. He woke up early, worked out, planned his day. Did everything people say you're supposed to do. And it showed. He was focused, calm under pressure, moving forward in a way that felt intentional. For a while, he was the example, the person others looked at and thought, that's what discipline looks like. But then something changed. Not overnight, not dramatically. Just small shifts. He started sleeping a little later, skipping the workout once or twice a week, checking his phone earlier than usual. Nothing extreme, nothing that looked like failure, just small breaks in the pattern. At first, it didn't seem like a problem, because everything else still worked. He was still productive, still getting things done, still on track. But over time, those small shifts started to stack. Not into collapse, into drift. His mornings lost structure. His focus became inconsistent. His energy wasn't as stable. And the strange part? He noticed it. He knew something was off, but he didn't act on it right away, because nothing had failed yet. That's the trap. People wait for something to break before they fix it. But control doesn't disappear all at once. It fades. Quietly. In small decisions you don't think matter. One morning we talked about it. Not in a serious way. Just casually, like two people comparing routines. And he said something that revealed everything. I know what I need to do. I just haven't gotten back into it. That sentence sounds harmless, but it hides a deeper truth. He wasn't getting back into it. He had stopped choosing it. That's the difference. Most people think discipline is something you build and then keep, but it's not. It's something you maintain or lose every day. Because the moment you stop choosing it, something else takes its place. Old habits, old patterns, old defaults, and they don't need effort. They just need space. That's what happened to him. He didn't lose control because he forgot what worked. He lost it because he assumed it would stay. That's the twist most people miss. You don't fall off because you're weak. You fall off because you stop paying attention. Because once something becomes normal, you stop protecting it. You stop being intentional. You go back to autopilot. And autopilot doesn't move you forward. It takes you back. Khan didn't need a new system. He didn't need more discipline. He needed to recognize something simple. Ownership isn't permanent. It's practiced. That realization didn't feel motivating. It felt uncomfortable. Because it meant there was no finish line, no point where you could relax and assume things would hold. But it also made things clearer. He didn't need to fix everything. He needed to return to one thing, the beginning. The next morning, he didn't try to rebuild his entire routine, didn't aim for perfection, didn't force himself into intensity. He just chose one action. Wake up. Sit up. Don't reach for the phone. That was it. Simple. Repeatable. Within his control, and more importantly, a conscious decision. The first day felt slow, not powerful, not impressive, just intentional. The second day felt easier. The third day felt familiar. And over time, something returned. Not because he forced it, because he rebuilt it, piece by piece, choice by choice. That's how ownership works. Not through big changes, through small, repeated decisions that align with who you want to be. And the moment you stop making those decisions, you don't stay where you are. You drift. That's why people feel like they're falling behind, even when nothing obvious has gone wrong. Because they're no longer choosing their direction, they're defaulting again. And default always leads backward. Not dramatically, just enough to notice over time. So the goal isn't to become someone who has control. It's to become someone who practices control. Daily, quietly, without needing it to feel exciting. Because the truth is, the things that change your life won't feel special after a while. They'll feel normal, routine, expected, and that's exactly when they matter most. because that's when it's easiest to stop, to skip one day, to relax your standards, to assume it doesn't matter anymore. But it does. Not because one day changes everything, but because one day starts a pattern, and patterns decide direction. So the real question isn't whether you've changed or whether you've improved. It's whether you're still choosing it. Today, right now, in the small moments that no one sees. Because ownership isn't something you prove once. It's something you practice every morning. And if you stop practicing it, you don't just pause your progress. You slowly give your control away again. You've made it to the end of this video, and that already says something about you. Because most people don't stay long enough to really reflect. They listen a little, agree a little, and then go back to the same patterns. But if you're still here, you're not just listening, you're thinking, and that's where change actually begins. Throughout this video, we didn't talk about motivation. We didn't rely on hype or quick fixes. We broke something down that is much simpler and much more powerful. Your morning. Not just what you do, but how you start. Because as you've seen, everything comes back to that first hour. You don't lose control all at once. You lose it quietly. In the moment you wake up and react instead of decide. In the habit of consuming before you create. In the delay of action because you're waiting to feel ready. In the small decisions you stop paying attention to. And over time, those moments build a pattern. A pattern where your attention isn't yours. Your energy is scattered. Your day feels rushed, even when nothing is actually wrong. But you've also seen the other side. What happens when you take ownership? When you decide before the moment arrives? When you protect what enters your mind? When you move before you feel ready? When you start your day by building, not reacting? When you win early, even in a small way? That's where things begin to shift. Not instantly, not perfectly, but consistently enough to change your direction. And that's all this is about. Direction. So instead of trying to change everything at once, keep it simple. Tomorrow morning, don't aim for perfection. Just choose one thing. Don't reach for your phone, or sit in silence for a few minutes. Or start one task that actually matters. It doesn't need to be big. It just needs to be yours. Because the goal isn't to create a perfect routine. It's to become someone who owns their start. And once you experience that, even once, it becomes easier to repeat. That's how it builds, quietly, day by day. So take what you've heard here and actually try it. Not next week, not when things feel easier. Tomorrow, because the difference between staying the same and moving forward usually comes down to one decision made in the first few minutes of your day. Thank you for staying with this all the way through. I appreciate your time, your attention, and your willingness to reflect. If this video helped you see something differently, there's a good chance someone else in your life needs to hear it too. Share it with them. You never know how one small shift in the way someone starts their day can change everything that follows. And if you're ready to keep going, I'll see you in the next video.